So I think this is actually a very interesting question. And to be 100% honest with you, from what I have seen and from what I have heard just from stories of other people that have done one-on-one calls with me especially, narcissism is narcissism, whether it's in a monogamous relationship, polyamorous relationship, a queer relationship, a straight relationship. It doesn't really matter. Narcissism is just narcissism. Because my story, even though I was in a relationship with another man, is very, very similar to everybody that I've heard that's in the straight community and even people that are other people in the gay community that have gone through this too. It all seems to just pretty much kind of be the same because they're all kind of cut from the same cloth. So I got several questions like this after I posted the video I did about my healing work. And this is a really hard concept for most of us because we don't want to forgive them. Because we'll call a spade. They don't deserve our forgiveness. But here's what we have to remember. Forgiveness is not about or for them. It's for us. Forgiveness is not about pretending that it didn't happen. What it is, it's about making the decision that what happened to you is not going to hold you down anymore. You can forgive them without forgetting it. You can forgive them and not let them be a part of your life. But here's the twist. We really can't even start the process of forgiving them until we have forgiven ourselves. So if you still beat yourself up for the fact you were in this relationship, this is step number 1. We have to give ourselves grace before we can give it to others. Forgiving yourself also prevents this cycle from happening again and having that mindset of you deserved it. And by the way, you didn't deserve this. Oh, the starting point. I think honestly the first step to starting to heal is really just truly accepting what has happened to you. Because if you cannot accept the reality of what's happened, it's going to be really hard for you to actually process and start moving on. Talking to people that have actually walked through this was probably a massive game. Not probably, it was a massive game changer for me. If it's in your budget, get into therapy or even doing like one-on-one calls with TikTok creators like myself or any of the other awesome creators that do one-on-one calls. Those are extremely helpful. Learn different methods of healing and find the one that works best for you. Most of the one-on-one calls that I do, this is the main topic that we actually discuss, is just how to move on, how to let it go, how to heal, because it really is a process and it takes time. So finding people that have walked through this makes you feel way less alone. Yes, Queen, 100%. Oh my God. This is actually one of the parts that annoyed me the most. So here's like a small strategy that you can do when all you remember is the good. Think about events that happened around the good, what happened previously, and what happened shortly after. Because narcissists work on a cycle. They screw up, they re-love bomb us, and then they screw up again. You can clock their shit like a menstrual cycle. So when you do this, it kind of reminds you that the good was only there to manipulate you and keep you trauma bonded. And then usually you kind of get over it pretty fast. Bitches. First and foremost, before I say anything, and the main point of this is you are far from worthless. If we want to keep it on topic, if you were worthless, the narcissist wouldn't have chosen you. They actually choose people that are worth something because you have something that they don't. But as far as the emotions that you're feeling go, the fact that it's not an instant fix is actually what's going to bring you to your biggest victory. It's moments like this when you have to pick yourself up off the floor and process it and feel everything and move through everything that gives you your biggest strength. Feeling the pain, processing the pain, and moving through the pain as opposed to ignoring it is what's going to make you the strongest that you've ever been. So no, my dear, you're not worthless. You're actually just getting started. Okay, so why did I say that if a narcissist has an affair with a gay man, it's the safest affair that they can have? Just a disclaimer, this does not represent the entire gay community, but it does represent some of it. But it is very unlikely for a straight man to be outed by their gay side piece. Because the reality is they're both dudes. Guys in general just like no strings attached sex. For them, it just is what it is. Most gay boys know their straight man's not going to leave their wife. But at the end of the day, if they're also doing it for the reasons that we talked about in the last video, the gay man also doesn't want to ruin his own fantasy. So they're almost guaranteed discretion. They'll practically be worshipped. They'll have someone at their beck and call. They'll have someone do to or with them whatever they want. And they get to go home to their main supply. Just my 2 cents. So I think I understand what you're asking on this, and I think you're talking about contacting like the narcissist ex. For the most part, no. I really debated it after we broke up, just to kind of see what their experience was like, as at the time what I was doing was I was really just trying to understand what the hell just happened to me. I ended up deciding against it, and the main reason that I did was because I really didn't know where they stood. I knew where I stood with the narcissist, but I didn't know where his exes currently stood. And to me, it was just a door to potentially open drama that I was really trying to avoid. Now, with that said, I have heard instances where people have reached out to the ex and it was a great thing, and they actually found someone that completely understood what they were going through. But I think that's a very risky move to make, to be 100% honest with you. So I would just trust your gut. Just trust your gut. Okay, so this is a really good question. It's, do you list the triggers in order to work on them? I don't necessarily list them out, but one of the ways that I do deal with them is through journaling. And I do this process where I trace the steps back. So if I'm triggered, I essentially work my way backwards mentally through journaling on, okay, what led up to this trigger? So essentially it kind of helps me create a roadmap. It just helps bring some clarity and understanding to why I even got triggered in the first place. Because half the time I don't even know why. I will say now, I say that I self-trigger a lot due to my own insecurities that I still deal with. And I say that with a smile because once I'm out of it, I look back on it and I'm like, well, that was dramatic. So I think this is actually a good question. Quick disclaimer, this is just my opinion. I think there's a fundamental difference between getting revenge and holding someone accountable. I don't think there's anything wrong with holding them accountable. If they hurt you, press charges. If they owe you money, make them pay it. If they're riding your coattail, then you better change the coat. All of that's accountability. But if you cross into a line where you're doing your own smear campaign or you're just trying to get back at them, then no, I don't think it's worth it. For me, it would feel good in the moment, but it would not help my inner peace. Because doing something like that goes against the core of who I am. So no, if you can, hold that bitch accountable. I actually really love this question. And to be 100% honest with you, yes, I used to. And most of that was actually before I even knew that I was a victim of this, because I didn't know that that's what this was until about 2 months after the breakup. So I used to say things to myself like, it's just a breakup, what's your problem? You're too strong for this, why do you feel so weak? Why did you even respond to him? And then through the help of my therapist, I realized just exactly what I had gone through and how this is nothing like a normal breakup. So I'll say to you what I was told by my therapist and my friends, and you have to give yourself more grace, and you have to stop beating yourself up so much, because this is anything but normal. You may break your no contact rule, you may look at their social media, you may feel sad. There's so many things that you may do, and all of it is okay. You just have to make sure that you give yourself more grace than you do judgment.